So.
Okay, we got someone.
Take all this information. Hey there. The name's William. And David.
Nice to meet you.
Hometown natives here.
Okay.
Trying to get to the bottom of some issues that we've seen going on. And so, first off, we wanted to see if we could get a copy of the minor amendment for what went up or is going to be changing on east side of Safeway right there, the bench area. We've been following the city council emails, and we saw an example of the amendment there. It's MA 16002.
Okay.
And then from there, we wanted to see exactly what they have requested and so forth, and if they got a permit for that fence area, if they require one. From what I can gather, you guys have permit applications, so I wanted to see if they had something like that too. Otherwise, the follow-up question would be, why is there a fence there blocking the public right-of-way,
Okay.
and with them not working on it?
Okay.
So yeah, exactly. It's basically it's a
bench area.
it's a public right-of-way that that there was a more metallic fence that went up prior, and that already got taken down.
That was in late January, early February this year.
Yeah, and that was when Rob Mosby used to work here, so
What's
we kind of
this
worked with him.
address on this?
460 South College.
Or what's his?
The amendment is
002.
yeah, or 0002.
You got a good memory.
So the main thing that we're concerned about is that the prior fence went up illegally. We're the ones that caught it. We're the ones that called it in. And Rob Mosby sent the 2385 takedown notice. So it's a violation of encroachment of the public right away. And we wanted to see if this happened again.
Okay.
Looks pretty bad.
Are you tenants here or?
No, we're, like I said, hometown natives.
Born and
We
raised
like
here
to
our whole
frequent that
lives.
spot.
Okay.
And so, until it's actually turned into the flowers, I'm trying to figure out what rights they have to close it off in the meantime.
Okay.
The best I can come up with was basically an email from Rob that says, "Hi Eric, Clark and I did speak, and the minor amendment process does not allow the right to block the public right of way. So, fortunately, the fence does need to be removed, as previously mentioned in my emails." What we're wondering is, did they do anything different here? Because somewhere earlier in the emails, Ted had said something along the lines of, "At a minimum, you should apply for a minor amendment to the final plan for the addition of the fence in the meantime, if you have not done so already."
But even
so-
an amendment doesn't give the right to block.
Exactly.
So,
So-
yeah, I know I'm not familiar with any of this,
Exactly.
so I'm
That's
gonna
why
have to
we're-
go up and research it.
Feeding you everything here.
As far as
We just
We
want
just
to see
need
what
fence.
all information about
So now
that.
it's
I don't even know what it looks
now-
like. So there's a fence.
Yeah, so now
It's
there's
like an
blocking
a
a sidewalk.
yeah now before it was a 6-foot chain link fence over just the benches, around just the benches.
You know where Safeway is?
Yeah.
7-Eleven's here. Remington, you go up, and there's a seat wall bench where people like to congregate a lot.
Yeah, and the plat obviously it's a 100-foot right of way. It's a 100-foot plat. Yeah, and so College, Remington, there's like a Safeway or 7-Eleven right there. And so it's
So
been a
you
hot
walk up
topic
on
because
it,
of the
and
transients,
the seat wall.
but it's
So
also
they put
public
a
right of
fence
way.
up around the benches so nobody can sit on the benches, or
Yes.
Before they
And
did it,
it's
is this during construction?
It's an
or-
orange type of construction fence. It's not like a really nice heavy duty put up chain.
That's
It's not
what
a
they-
permanent fence.
Yeah, initially it was a permanent fence put up in January
Okay.
without even notice or approval from the state. City actually, in the same email, said, "Well, we're quite surprised to see that fence go up," basically.
Okay.
And then we call. stayed up for like 2 months while we were trying to figure stuff out ourselves. No one in the city was doing anything. Ted was just kind of saying, what are we going to do about this? We chimed in finally with Rob. Rob said, hey, that's an encroachment. Take it down. They took it down. In the meantime, they put through the amendment. It has since been submitted and approved. But in there, we were saying if it does have anything to do, if it mentions anything about the new fence that went up, it's not a chain link fence, it's an orange construction fence.
Yeah, which, I mean, if
Makes
they
sense
are
if they're
blocking
going
off
to.
a sidewalk for construction, there's an encroachment permit that they
Separate
Exactly.
for
apply
it.
through engineering.
Exactly. That you would add, I imagine, to the minor amendment process like it was mentioned
Well, minor
prior.
amendment's going to be something completely separate. So
Yeah,
there
it's-
is a development plan in place for what's approved there.
Yeah, I think
Once
we,
they want to make a minor change or something to it, then they apply for a minor amendment like landscaping, or if they want to do an addition on the building, add parking spaces, remove parking
Okay.
spaces, put up a wireless telecommunication facility or anything like that, they go through a minor amendment. The
Yeah,
minor
we saw
amendment
that get
would
approved.
then approve everything to be done.
Yeah, all the
They
different
then
departments
have
and stuff.
to apply for permit to do it too.
Should block it off while
Yeah,
they're working on
a
it.
fence in the right of way
It's pretty
just wouldn't work.
Pretty bad.
Engineering wouldn't approve that minor amendment.
Exactly. That's
So-
why we're here.
We need all
But
information
if
about
this is a temporary fence, it's just a temporary construction fence. The only thing that they're gonna need is a encroachment permit for it. It's
Exactly.
a $25
So,
permit.
Yep. That's all we wanted to
You want
to
a
know.
copy of that permit? Is that what you're looking for?
Well,
We're
I
trying
wanted to
get
see if they
all
have that
information,
permit.
All right,
like
I'll be
the,
right
the
back.
amendment,
Yeah.
the permit, all that stuff.
Yeah, they can put in a permit. That's the whole point. It's really easy. They're going to approve it right away.
What you have to do is just look into it. Apply as
It's like I know you guys want to fix it, change it, but there's a few problems. When they want to actually get around to doing it, they have to fill out a permit. Hey, I'd like to block this right away for 5 days while I'm going to go from this date to this date. Sometime in the far future, whenever I get around. Oh yeah, we're engaged. We're here.
you submitted undergarment to contractor license.
The whole point is that we're in this process. Replacing the flower bed as an amendment. Defense going around.
Okay. Yeah, we're gonna, electricians and plumbers are a little different. So if you go to building, like a building drop down menu, go to contractor license. And there's a bunch of, yep, electrician, plumber registration, and then you'll see for plumbers, the application.
So we do pre-site inspection.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Is that what you're referring to?
So you would need to do your application, copy of your actual state code contractor license. Yeah, let me take, I think you're good on the insurance, so Just plumbers, electricians, or okay. And it's not just like just 200. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Is there a check in the bag? Yeah, in the bag. Okay. So it's 150 and whatever. It's right on there.
The fans You don't look the same.
What's that?
You're missing something.
I have been for a few years now.
Wait, you're not Ben either.
No.
You look just like him without the hair.
Oh,
Thanks anyway.
If there is one, I can, what's the address? What's the street name? Can you spell that? I can't really understand what you're saying. And how long ago was the permit been pulled? Yeah, it's gonna take me, I have to go through all of the units and whatnot, so it'll take me a second to get through all of the time you start construction. Correct, so you would have to get a permit for it.
So what's the verdict, boss?
So I haven't found any permit for an encroachment permit
We
or
figured
encroachment.
we figured
So
since they didn't learn the lesson.
sometimes what they will do, if it's just a temporary construction, basically keeping people from anything that's going to happen there. Well, this didn't even print on everything. This was a copy. Of
We actually have the picture. That we it was an attachment from an email through the
for the minor
city
amendment.
council. Yeah, so we know what it
so
looks
you don't
like.
even need this then.
Yeah, we know the shrubs that are going to be put up and everything like that.
Yeah.
But nowhere in there said anything about when they were going to do it, how long they were going to do it for,
Is there
and are those the
permit?
types of things that go in a permit for the?
Once
Fence.
the minor amendment is approved, if it's just a landscaping minor amendment, they don't actually pull a permit to start that work. They can start it
It's
once
kind
it's
of
approved.
whenever they want to.
Once they're done with the work, then zoning will go out and verify that they did all the work according to what was approved.
Okay,
And
so
we'll do an inspection to make sure everything's done.
okay, so kind of a general question based on that. Then. When subdivision plat gets approved to be built, and the original amendment process, they put forth the idea of the seat wall. Once they build the seat wall, is that kind of just dedicated to the public because this is the public right of way? The seats on the side of where the fence went around.
That's what we call it. Is
The seat wall, the
That's where
horseshoe.
people sit at.
Basically anything that they do in the public right of way, flowers or benches, things like that. I'm wondering if the construction of these benches were at the same time as the actual Safeway went up initially. But
That was like
so,
40, 50 years ago.
yeah, and so the
Yeah.
people who made the seat wall were the private property owners of 460 South College. But since it's in the right of way, is it sort of just donated to the public? Do they exercise any sort of control over it once it's finished?
It's usually the property owners that are going to have
But the
say,
kind of
but they do have to submit this
Yeah,
in order
exactly.
to make any changes. to
Meaning
it.
they could
They-
make their area look nicer, but I guess his question is since it's on public right of way, is it technically public property?
No, it'll be the sidewalk.
well,
you
so
don't-
so this is where it's getting interesting. If it's
So you're asking if public owns it or if city owns it?
well, a city is the public. So I mean, so private
Sure.
versus public. And so here, it sounds from my side, the logic that I get is a minor. Okay, so they put an amendment to build seat walls next to their property. Seat walls are in the public right of way. It's a 100-foot right of way, by the way. So it goes from, and we measured it from the actual giant wall of the
Actual wall of
business
Safeway
all the way over
versus
to the
seats are definitely on.
brick walling the other side.
Sure.
So that includes street, sidewalk, and grass, and those benches.
Yeah.
And so if it does include the benches, just hypothetically speaking, they exercise control over that area per amendment process.
There are going to be property lines involved too.
Yep. And so that if the property line itself is Lambert County's property line that you guys use, they're all plats. They're platted out with 100-foot rights of way for everything.
So the confusion is
And so the
Safeway-
property line is that orange, and if that's the property line, then that benches are in
forever
the
outside of
they're forever outside the property line. They're in the public right of way, and they may exercise control over it with regards to
We see
amendments.
that. Hold on. We see that around town where businesses will just like update something right in front of their place or adjacent to it just to make it look nice and stuff.
Sure.
We see it as a normal process, obviously. But
Yeah. So what we're trying to figure out is
odd.
when that bench is not being under construction or under a minor amendment revision, when it's just accepted as built, is that something that closes at any time? The kind of exercising control over it, meaning is it private property that someone could get trespassing on, and so forth.
Could he repossess and take back his concrate if he wanted to, or something
Yeah.
like that? Or was it
Via
actually
an amendment? I think you
If
can
a
say, I want to
property
remove
owner
this.
has a wall or whatever on their property that they want to remove and change to landscaping, then they would go through a minor amendment process to change that. The city would go through an approval,
And that's how they
approve the minor
exercise
amendment,
that
and then it
control.
can happen.
Yeah. And then
As
once it
far
happens,
as
does it turn back over?
owns
to the
it, the property owner, if it's on their property, will own it. And typically, there's a property line that extends all the way out to the city. There's public right of way, which will go into the property owner's property, which the city is going to maintain, like the sidewalk.
So
Street trees.
the property line,
Have you gotten it
the
surveyed?
property is sold on a parcel by parcel basis, and then each parcel is split up to tracts or whatever they are. Or so, how can a property line be outside of the platted area where you can buy that property?
No, I didn't say that it was.
But you said that they exercise control over it, that seawall area, as if it was private property.
Sure, if it's on their property.
Okay, if it's on the
If it's
what
on
we're
the
saying
property.
is it's
It's
such a
not
black
on
and
their
white
property.
thing of here's the plats, here's a 100-foot right
So you're
of way.
saying the bench is in the street?
Yeah, the benches are definitely in the street.
Oh, by the way,
Oh, yeah,
concept
yeah, yeah.
of right of way doesn't mean actual sidewalk. That's a
Yeah,
misinterpretation.
The
of
100-foot
words.
right of way goes from this
100
wall
foot right of way
all
is
the way to
literally
over.
anything in a 100
But your
foot flat.
property line is typically, can be,
Well, the property line is the platted area here.
The actual-
That is, there's no issue, and so 100 foot has always been consistent. If you go all the way up the road up here, and if you notice too, what I've noticed is that this property line matches up to that next one, just like that.
And it goes all the way
matches
down
up to there,
for a whole,
and
like,
then that
mile of a
matches up to
street.
there. So it's all by block.
It basically was contracting laid out, like the
Okay.
whole street just came in,
Yeah.
and then Safeway
so
came in.
then what is the question? You're,
So number one, when nobody has a fence around it and no minor amendment is being pushed through to change it, if it's in the right of way, does it ever close?
Because Safeway likes to maintain that area, or update it, or amend it, or whatever.
what is closing?
The bench area.
The bench area.
Does the bench ever, like the hours of operation?
Exactly.
Is
Yeah.
that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll get that canceled and we'll just need
I
So-
would have to
Okay.
talk
well,
to
yeah,
the
we're not directing it sort of
property owners
specifically.
or law enforcement on that.
Yeah. Well, that's where
so you
we're
just have to
having
run that back,
the
okay?
difficulty is law enforcement has even less information on how the law works behind this. And so we've found the most information accurately from Rob, basically. And so let me kind of sum up our issues. So there was a fence that went up in the right-of-way,
It's that
this fence,
Okay.
that Rob directly addressed via the emails already.
This was Ted and Rob Mosby that work here in the city about 4 months ago.
The fence went up in January. The fence takedown request was sent on January 26th.
So Rob told them to remove this fence.
Yep.
Yes.
And then a couple days later, on 2/03, is when they finally submitted the minor amendment, and then it's taken 3 months to get approved, and then on 6/15 is when it actually got approved.
Okay.
But in here, it was alluding that the minor amendment process doesn't allow for the blocking the right of way, or at most, Ted was saying something about at most, or at the least, you should apply for something. Where does it say? It says at minimum, you should apply for a minor amendment to the final plan for the addition of the fence. So I figured maybe this next time they put the fence up, maybe they slipped it into that amendment.
If they are going to, however, I didn't see a fence.
So exactly.
Yeah, the
so
fence is already up.
what we're
so-
trying to approve is probably a
So
really.
this fence is up again?
There's a newer one
newer
that is
one.
a construction-based orange one that's about a foot or two lower that goes out wider,
It's about 2 feet
So
wider.
it's just a
and it
temporary
still does.
construction
Yeah.
fence that
And
they
it-
put up
which makes
to block
sense.
the public from any dangerous construction.
Exactly.
Exactly.
But if it's the same fence as in enclosed area, it now falls under trespassing law, and therefore no one else is allowed to use that area while it's being constructed. But if it's not being constructed underneath, or if there's no minor amendment or revoked law enforcement permit for the timing for that, then it's an unspecified, indefinite blocking of the right of way.
So it sounds like you need to talk to Steve Siccione, who took over for Rob Mosby, moved into a different position, and find out what he's got in place for that fence, because he's going to be aware of this
Exactly.
construction.
Yeah. So
Just like any other construction around
Yep.
here, they have construction fences up.
yeah. So yeah, what we're thinking is something very simple, just like last time. Fence goes up, regardless of the amendment process going through. It was a mistake. They had to be told to take it down.
Yeah,
We
they
see
did.
the exact same thing is happening again. And
Yeah,
what
they
we want to
basically
know is
exact same. They're putting it up again. They're not going to the
So
permit
if
again.
they take the fence down, and then there's flowers there,
that's through
we-
the normal minor amendment process.
Yeah.
sure,
yeah.
and that's
Like,
what
uh,
is
And we don't
going to
even
happen.
and we don't even mind if the fence goes up, as long as there's due process with the blocking of the right of way, which like
I
any
would,
other fence
I
goes
would
up.
talk to Steve on that.
And so they
Yeah.
said they were going to do it again, and now it's been a week of it.
Yeah. The whole
and
point too also
nothing's
is
been
that the
happening.
fence went up last Friday, the new
Okay.
one, and we went to buy it
No,
today.
not
They're
last
still not.
Friday, like a week ago.
That's what I mean last Friday.
Oh, okay,
5
yeah,
days
yeah,
ago.
sorry.
And they haven't done any work on it since. They haven't done any work today. And so if another week goes by, how legitimate is this idea that they're doing construction behind it, the need to close it, whereas the whole point is,
Like
is
what
that
they're-
it's been a
Well,
very
if
hot
they've got
debate
Like what they're trying to do
approval
is
on it,
to
they-
modify it.
yes, and then they're under construction when they decide to start construction. If they put that fence up, if they're not working on it today, you can't tell them to take the fence down.
Well, that's
True.
the thing is
Is that
normally
what
they
you're-
would just come in, fence it off for 5 days, and then get it done.
Yeah,
And
so
then
when
they
can you
would-
tell them that they're
Well, that's going
encroaching
to be
upon the
up
right of
to
way?
Steve, and when they've
Yeah.
given them that authorization to do that.
Yeah, or more appropriately,
Sir?
sir,
Can
there's
we help
someone.
you down here?
So, typically,
20
as long as this fence is up in accordance with work that's being done with a minor amendment, that's fine.
Except
Steve will have the
yeah.
information on it.
Except they
So there are
haven't
two
done
var-
anything with the flowers yet at all.
yeah, so the two variables
with the
there.
what?
The flowers that they're going to do to it.
They just started, or they. You know. So the two variables here are, one, how long can they leave up a fence without doing work behind it, and then let me get this other thought back. This was a really
So they'll typically they submit for this. Encroachments are a from and to date.
yeah.
Whether
Yeah.
they're working on it or not, if they put it from today through next year, and they work on it for 5 days, but the fence is up around it, that's something that was approved through engineering to have that encroachment.
So yeah, so the encroachment itself, from what we understand, is partially through this. You usually have to put this up. From what we understand so far, the minor amendment process, we don't know if just the process itself, once it's approved, if it gets
Minor amendment is to approve what amendments they're
project,
making
yeah,
to
yeah.
the development plan,
Yeah, whatever.
yeah, and
which
so
is already approved.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
they're approved to.
but they're
make
approved
these
to work on
changes.
it, but not block it off.
Block it off. That's, I guess, what the
Yeah.
email's all about. Is
And,
you can work it all on
let me-
all you want,
let me sum it
but
up
if
this
you just
way.
block it for 3 weeks. and not do
It'll make a lot more sense when I introduce this last variable. The violation that we're trying to get after is a 23-84 violation. 2383 says.
It's imminent. Encroachment.
Yeah, so 2383, I can even pull it up. It's super easy. Says that you don't have you have to get a permit anytime you block the right of way, and so that's that right there. And then from there it says
By the
if
way,
you
right
don't
away
have a
Engineering may
permit.
have.
Yeah, we asked them, but
They
actually if that's engineering, they said they didn't have.
Yeah, they didn't have anything actually.
So-
You'd have to call Steve.
Okay, so
Okay,
Steve's the
yes.
guy. But anyways, the whole point is that a 2384 notice got sent here, and in the law it says that anytime you block the right of way, it's a misdemeanor for every day. Every single day. In fact, it says for the next 10 days, it's misdemeanor every day. And then only after 10 days can we give you what it is we to give you a takedown notice that says you have 10 days to remove it at your own expense. It doesn't mean that you can keep it up for those next 10 days. It just means that we're just not going to charge you until the 10th day. And if the 10th day comes, we remove it ourselves. We charge you. The whole point is that a takedown notice is a very or how to put this, those 10 days that it's up illegally, any day that it's up illegal without a permit is a misdemeanor. And so if they spend a year on their application or on their modification, if they're not working on it for that entire year, then the ratio of blocking the right of way to their work is they're more blocking
It's
the
kind
way.
of more of a reasonable, like they need to just do it in a
You kinda see how that
instead
works.
of being like, oh, we can
I don't, I'm not
casually
in the
build
department,
everything.
so I don't enforce any of that.
Yeah,
I look at an application and I see what it has. That's it.
exactly. That's what
Engineering's going to take care of all this. I look at the minor amendment portion of it.
Yeah.
I review this, tell them what land use code is, go out, inspect it, and make sure.
Okay,
it's
yeah,
done
that's kind of what we
according to land
figured.
use code.
Rob knew a little bit more about the 2384 notices because he's the one that sent the takedown notice.
Engineering's
So
going to be the ones that take care of all that.
maybe we'll. They said something like they didn't have all of the paperwork ready. They said check here.
Yeah, it was all empty over there and that to check over here.
Did you talk to Steve?
No, it was
just the
her
lady.
secretary.
guess we can go back and try.
Got it.
We could try
Without the
directly,
paperwork, Steve
but
might be there.
I'm pretty
No.
sure. I mean, if it's not there, it's not there.
But yeah, basically, it's the same situation all over again twice. The only difference is that an amendment was approved. But if the amendment process, according to Rob's email, says does not allow the public the right to block the public right of way, the right comes from
Yes, all
the
right,
permit.
sounds good. Thanks.
And if
Sure.
they just
And that's
simply
where
If
you'd
there's
have
no
to talk to
permit.
Steve
yeah.
about that.
And if they, I mean, it's not like they can't put a permit in. I'm just saying they just never did. You know, it'd be nice to get one. And if they don't get one, then it would be the same thing like Rob. He would send a takedown notice, or Steve would, saying, hey, if you guys don't give us a permit, you're blocking our right of way, and you got to take that down. That's what we're trying to do. So.
Okay. Yeah, engineering's going to be the department
But,
we need to talk to about that.
Okay, but yeah,
all you found
as
is
long
just
as you're
the
familiar
amendment
with
That's-
usually the
my
process.
department is minor amendments.
Okay.
Yeah, they're, for what you're trying to ask, you're in the wrong place.
Okay. Makes
Well,
sense.
we're gonna keep trying so we get it, but
Yeah,
for the
Steve
most part.
Sissione's going to be the one you're going to want to talk to. If it's about the fence in the right of way.
Gotcha. Okay.
But you've at least seen these guys before, and you know that they are for
The
permits.
encroachment permits?
Yeah, that you generally aren't supposed to be able to have fences in the
They
right
happen
way.
all the time. Somebody's got a crane and they're lifting something up to a third floor and they need to close off the sidewalk.
Okay.
They do an encroachment permit.
So in general, all
I
this
mean,
stuff
Fort Collins
aside,
Hotel has a ton of space blocked off.
exactly.
Yeah.
So
I mean, they're not working on that immediate area
Yeah.
all the time.
but they
That
probably
makes
have a
sense, but
permit.
They've got
for
a
the
crane
whole thing.
working on this section, but this section of the lot
Yeah.
may not necessarily be under construction.
Yeah. So I mean, as long as they have the permit for it, that makes sense. The real rhetorical question is, if they don't have a permit, if someone's caught behind that area, are they breaking any laws? Because the only law
Typically,
would
from
be
what I'm understanding, and this is something that Steve will have to answer, is if they've gone through these processes,
that gives them the right.
a permit to construct a hotel or a minor amendment to make these changes, that allows them for the encroachment permits. They
Oh,
may
I
not
see.
have to pull a
You
separate
actually
encroachment
have
permit.
to. Oh, I see.
But again, that's something you're
Yeah,
going to have to
that's
talk to
exactly what we want to figure out. And then if they, the whole point is if they leave it up forever and not do any work, that's what we're starting to worry is that to some of why
I
we're.
mean, there are expirations on these projects that they have to do,
Yeah.
but typically can be there forever.
Okay.
So,
I
Well,
think
it makes sense for massive construction that in 2 days from now the crane's going to utilize that area.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Give it take, but like this one again is pretty obvious.
Well,
There's not
yeah,
doing anything.
the number one reason why we're after this particular crime is that before it happened without a permit, and it was the way the email even mentioned it, it said it was they said like the company that put it up said. It was a temporary safety precaution. There was a number of incidents at the center, and basically it was a hate crime against the transients there. And so we've
So
been following
essentially
city
they're
council this whole time,
Fencing
and they
off the homeless
reapproved it.
there while they're doing construction, but if they don't do construction, then they just walled off everybody.
Yeah, it was a super hot topic 2 weeks ago to last week. They slipped in the minor amendment. They got it approved. They think that their homeless problem is solved in that corner. They're worried about the police calls and things like that.
Okay.
But the fence going up is not an indication that they're doing the construction yet. The fence went up 5 days ago, and it looks just like the old fence that went up. They just don't want homeless people to hang out there until they can get their
Until
flowers.
they can get their flowers planted.
So it's kind of a hate
That's
crime.
5 days
extremely
ago,
backwards.
we're talking about Friday.
Or
Still
no,
seems
sorry.
too short.
We had a really long weekend.
Yeah, exactly.
A holiday
Yeah.
weekend. So
But what would prompt
I don't
not
think
putting up the
in the
fence
last
today?
4 days, the Fort Collins Hotel is even doing any construction.
Oh yeah. We're just saying if it ends up going up for another 2 to 3 months, like the last fence did, and no one works on it in the
Yeah,
meantime.
that I would talk to
it starts
Steve
looking
about it,
fishy.
see what he's got with it. He'll be able to give you all the answers on that fence.
I
If
didn't-
he's
I
heard
didn't-
about it, if he's allowed it, how long it's going to be up.
Maybe he doesn't know about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it kind
And
of
if he
makes
doesn't
sense
know
that-
about it, then he can do exactly what Rob did.
Exactly. And I figured it kind of made sense that maybe the amendment process does automatically include some sort of permit.
And that's what I
Yeah.
believe that's what it is, but Steve will
Yeah.
be able to answer that.
Exactly.
But then they would have walled off all instead of just the benches and make it obvious that they're just targeting.
Or benches is where the work is being done. They did it. They extended it correctly. I saw it.
Oh,
it was about right.
I didn't
Well,
see
if they're
that.
just planting some shrubs, typically wouldn't fence that off, but if you're doing some major construction on concrete,
This seemed like they were retaining the seat wall, and they're just putting a bunch of flower pots on top of everything. It just
Well,
sprinkling
that's what I
mulch.
was just saying. If you've got just some shrubs going in somewhere, typically don't see construction plants going in.
Oh, I see. Because it's something so
Oh,
simple.
But if you've got these
Yeah.
big concrete benches or walls that they're gonna have to jackhammer and have
Yeah, yeah, I see.
Yeah, then it would be
then they
a
block people
Yep.
from going in. That's something that
Exactly.
danger.
Yep. No, that'll be interesting. We'll have to look into other landscaping projects similar in size and nature to see if they ever need a fence, maybe. Because as far as the amendment said it goes, they're just leaving everything and just adding pots of plants and stuff. Irrigation, same thing with it.
Sure.
So, well, we'll find out. So Steve Sassoni,
Yeah, Steve
Sassoni.
Sassoni.
Thank you very much. And your name, my good sir?
Marcus.
Marcus. Good to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Sorry for the trouble. Just trying to do our best.